Test B. I'm going to start with the mirror. I want to make sure it's properly mounted, secure, not crack, damaged, loose. It's clean, just me as the driver. I've got my door. It's properly mounted, secure, not crack, damaged, loose. I'm going to open my door. I'm going to check my latches and my hinges. My other latch right here. Make sure it's all properly mounted, secure, not crack, damaged, loose. I've got a seal right here. I want to make sure that seal is not cut, cracked, or frayed, so when I shut my door, it shuts and seals properly. I've got my steps. Make sure they're properly mounted, secure, not cracked, damaged, loose, free of foreign objects. I've got my side cab light. Make sure it's properly mounted, secure, not cracked, damaged, loose. It's clean, the proper color amber. Handles my left, my right turn signals, my four-way flashers. I got my DEF and my fuel tank. Make sure they're both properly mounted, secure, not cracked, damaged, loose. They're not leaking. And on the both the DEF and the fuel cap, there's a seal on the inside. I want to make sure it's not cut, cracked, or frayed, so when I close my cap, it shuts and seals properly. Up here, I don't have DOT tape, but I should. So my DOT tape and my utility light. Make sure that they're both properly mounted, secure, not cracked, damaged, loose. They're clean, proper color clear. I got my exhaust. Make sure it's properly mounted, secure, not cracked, damaged, loose. It's not leaking. If it were to be leaking, I would have black soot around the clamps. I've got my catwalk and my steps. Make sure it's properly mounted, secure, not cracked, damaged, loose. It's free of foreign objects. Inside here, I've got my drive shaft and my U-joints. Drive shaft and U-joints. I want to make sure it's properly mounted, secure, not cracked, damaged, loose. Free of foreign objects and no excessive wear. My frame and my cross frame. Make sure it's properly mounted, secure, not cracked, damaged, loose. And free of unauthorized welds. I got my splash guard. Make sure it's properly mounted, secure, not cracked, damaged, loose. And then inside of here, I've got my 4 parts of suspension. So I'm going to start with my leaf spring hangers, and my U-bolts. Make sure all 3 are properly mounted, secure, not cracked, damaged, loose. Not bent, dent, broken, shifted, or missing. And no excessive wear on the hangers. My shock and shock mounts, properly mounted, secure, not cracked, damaged, loose. It's not leaking. And no excessive wear on my bushings. My torque arm, which is right there. Make sure it's properly mounted, secure, not cracked, damaged, loose, free of excessive wear and play on my bushings. And then back over here, I'm going to have my airbags. Make sure it's properly mounted, secure, not cracked, damaged, loose, no abrasion, bumps, or cuts. And it's not leaking. Then I'm going to go back to my brake system. I'm going to go to my brake chamber, my ABS line, my brake line, my slack adjuster, and my push rod. Make sure all of it's properly mounted, secure, not cracked, damaged, loose. It's not leaking. It's the brake chamber is clamped. It's securely fastened around the brake chamber. Slack adjuster is at a 90-degree angle. There's no more than 1 inch of play in the push rod when the brakes are released. Then I got my inner and outer brake drums. Make sure it's all properly mounted, secure, not cracked, damaged, loose. There's a minimum of 1/4 inch of brake lining left on it, and it's free of oil and grease. Then I got my inner and outer rims. Make sure it's properly mounted, secure, not cracked, damaged, loose. It's free of unauthorized welds. I got my lug nuts. Make sure it's properly mounted, secure, not cracked, damaged, loose. They're not, and they're all tight. I've got my axle seal. Make sure it's properly mounted, secure, not cracked, damaged, loose. It's not leaking. Then I'm going to go to my tires. ICD, inflation, condition, and depth. I'll put a tire gauge on my valve stem. Get a reading, act accordingly. Make sure the valve stem is properly mounted, secure, not cracked, damaged, loose. It's not leaking. My tire itself, there's no abrasion, bumps, or cut. There's even tread wear on the tire itself, and there's a minimum of 4/32 of tread depth on the tire. These are dual tires, so I got a spacer in the middle. Make sure it's properly mounted, secure, not cracked, damaged, loose. It's free of foreign objects, and the tires are not touching. Back here, I've got a mud flap. I want to make sure it's properly mounted, secure, not cracked, damaged, loose. I got DOT tape back here, which is properly mounted, secure, not cracked, damaged, loose. It's clean. And then my back bank of lights, properly mounted, secure, not cracked, damaged, loose. It's clean, the proper color, red and white. What it handles is my brake, my service brake, emergency brake, parking brake, left and right turn signals, and my four-way flashes, and my reverse light for the white.